the time. So let me just
No, perfect. Um, yeah, well, I'm so happy to have you join me today.
I'm so
Um,
happy to join. Thanks for having me.
yeah, of course. It's been so much fun just working on this last project with you over the past couple of, I don't even know, couple of months, 6 months. I think we first started talking about it.
Yeah. I was looking
Um,
back, and I think I reached out to you maybe in February of of 2025.
yeah.
So it's sprouted since then. So it's been a beautiful,
Wow.
I would say, like
Oh
so.
my gosh. Well, I'll go ahead and intro us. Hey everyone, I'm Danielle Elise. I am the founder of the All Black Creatives Foundation and the host of the ABC Studios podcast, where I interview creatives, artists, and entrepreneurs in the community and just kind of hear their stories and share with you kind of a peek into their creative lives. Um, Today with me, I have Jiya. We worked together on a project called the Creative Legacy Project, which was birthed out of this beautiful brainstorm between all Black creatives and We The Diaspora. Hello, hello. Happy to have you with me. Yeah, it's funny because, and I'm trying to light some incense, so you gotta bear with me. This is like,
I have
there we
mine going
go.
in the background.
There we go. Um, you were asking me what I did over the weekend, and yeah, Silent Book Club did a retreat, went to a retreat for a silent book club, and it was not silent, which is we like we laugh about it because once we all arrive in the space, it's like just really built on connection. It's actually another Black woman who started it here in Playa, and it just ended up being a really beautiful time to just like connect and be intentional with like resting with each other. And um, I think it's always so beautiful seeing spaces that create moments for us to just rest, you know, and like have some ease and take a moment. um, it's kind of not the opposite of what we were talking about with this idea of creativity and the isolation that sometimes happens when you're creating.
Mhm.
Um, but sometimes it's really nice to have a moment and connect with other people who are in the same kind of creative headspace that you are.
For sure. I was talking to a friend, and we were toying with the idea that we need more third spaces in this world right now, especially when we're on our devices and spending more time just in our phones.
Mm-hmm.
And so definitely having more community and spending time with others and without devices, and in connection, and talking, and um, just doing things that we normally would do at home, in your bed,
Mm-hmm.
like things like
Mm-hmm.
reading, or um, things of that sort. I have been lucky to be part of this summer sponsoring this really beautiful film organization called Alfreda Cinema in New York City, where they put on an open air film. A weekly open air film, free open air film festival for
Wow.
in the city, showing black and brown films. Um, and it's just beautiful to see people come underneath the stars and just relax and watch films. And I think it's things like that just bring you outside of your house and connect with like-minded
Mm-hmm.
folks, and just more spaces like that are needed, you know.
Oh, I agree. I definitely agree. I think that's something that we never really thought about maybe growing up. Those of us who grew up with like, we had a lot of third spaces built in because we were outside a lot more often. So whether that was like the skate rink or like the mall or like, the sometimes the library, like there were just a lot of other natural things that were kind of built in that helped us to connect in that way. That wasn't going to be school, that wasn't going to be working, that wasn't going to be, that kind of thing. And yeah, it's like, oh, we still need that because, yeah, we're still the same human beings who want to be able to connect with each other, and want to be able to find some sort of sense of community, especially when we've got people who are like starting their own ideas, or maybe not even like full time in their freelancing or entrepreneurship, but it's like we have all of these moments where we can connect, and it's so easy not to. Like, it's so easy to just stay home. It's so easy to just like, okay, I'm gonna work, I'm gonna get a little bit of work done, and then I'm gonna scroll endlessly on my phone for hours, and then we end up wondering why we feel so disconnected. Sorry, that's my trash truck. It's really loud. But, and we wonder like why we feel so disconnected at the end. And it's like, oh, there's a difference between connecting with people online and connecting with people in person. And we don't necessarily recognize the benefits that we don't see immediately,
Yeah, for sure. It's, you never know what you can take away from just meeting and talking to people in person. The best medicine I've ever had in person.
Agreed. Yeah. No, absolutely. I know today oh, go ahead.
Is there any way that we can pause? Because I forgot my charger. I'm so sorry.
Yeah. Hold on. I'll just take. Do you want me to just take you out of the stream really quick?
So
you can get up? No, please, don't worry. Okay, you'll be back. Anyway, we were talking at the beginning of the stream before we started just about this, this third space, this gathering, this idea of connecting with people outside of something that we normally do, or outside of our working experiences. And one of the things that we mentioned wanting to talk about in this stream. Oh, you back? That was quick. Yeah. That was real quick. Amazing. I was just saying, one of the things that you and I discussed, like wanting to talk about whenever we were deciding, okay, what kind of things do we want to chat about today, was we wanted to get into like the intuitive nature of creativity versus this idea of imposter syndrome, and like, where does the idea of imposter syndrome even come from? Like, why do we give it so much weight? And I kind of wanted to, just chat with you about what your thoughts are on that. Like, where do you think imposter syndrome comes from, and why do we culturally give it so much weight and give it so much space?
I think, for me recently, I've been reflecting a lot on my career. I've just been transitioning from working full-time in digital marketing, and transitioning into doing We The Diaspora more part-time and more fully. And, when I was early on in my career, I felt I wanted to be just so perfect, and I dealt with so much imposter syndrome. And now I've come to the realization and accepted that, no one is perfect. And, I still deal with a little bit of imposter syndrome, but moving and transitioning into this creative space, I have come to terms with as we talked about, the intuitive nature of creativity. And for me, intuition is defined as more so as being taught from within. And recently I've just been meditating in that space of being guided from a space of knowingness from my own gut center, or, my own myself in that way. We all have, I think, a feeling that comes up when you just know something. And, whether it's like having a knowing that something's going to happen, or knowing that something is just right for you, or something is feels good. And I think as creatives, and we lean on that a lot. And I've talked to a lot of younger people in the field and industry, and they talk a lot about imposter syndrome. And I wonder, just as artists and creatives, if that is just like a made up term, or something that is keeping us from keeping us from like living fully in this space of experimentation, and leaning into just being and experimenting, and being okay with the unknown, So that's been something that I've been meditating on, and kind of what led to us kind of talking about this recently,
Yeah, it's so interesting you say, like, I wonder if that's kind of like this term that's made up. And the reason why I find that idea so interesting is because whenever there's sort of a prevailing idea in culture that we're all collectively negatively impacted by, my first thought is always, who does this benefit? Like, who does this idea benefit? Me feeling like I'm in a place that I'm not supposed to be in, or I'm not good enough to be in, or for some reason I shouldn't speak about, or something, or I should feel inferior in some way. It's like, well, who does that idea serve? Like, who benefits from me feeling like I don't belong here, you know? And sometimes it's an internal thing, and it's like, oh, my fears benefit from that. Like my comfort zone benefits from that. And so I can feel, these things. But then also, like, on a larger scale, if so many of us who are feeling this way, and so many of us who are young creatives, and who are young Black creatives, and who are young creatives who are not maybe creating mainstream work, or et cetera, et cetera. If we're all feeling this way, and we're all suppressing our voices, again, like, who's benefiting from that? And I just feel like when it's something that we bought into in that way, that it's like, we can all, and even just the phrasing, like, we're not even calling it by another name, and there are so many other names for it. We could say, like, oh, I'm nervous, or like, or I feel, I wish I had some guidance here, or or I feel alone in this, or this is scary. There are so many other ways, I feel like, that we can even frame this idea and talk about it, that are more empowering, and that give us a little bit more ownership in this idea, because we call it imposter syndrome, and it's like, well, what do I do with like a syndrome? How do I fix this thing? Like
it's kind of like this diagnosis, or this thing over here that you kind of just can't get rid of in that way. And it makes me think of, it benefits the system and capitalism in that, in a way, because if you internalize all this doubt, you overwork, and you go to overprove, and you stay silent, and you run yourself dry. And it benefits capitalism, it benefits the system. And
100%.
And I did do some research on the phrase, and it comes from psychologists in the 1970s who were studying high achieving white women who doubted themselves. And over time, it's been kind of co-opted as this kind of universal self-diagnosis. And, it benefits, men and in that way. So it's so interesting to look at the history behind the actual phrase. And I think things like this, like the imposter syndrome, and really looking into the meaning behind it, and like you said, labeling it, you can label that that feeling is something else. I'm feeling anxious. I'm feeling like maybe this ain't the right thing for me, something like that. Labeling it something else may be of benefit versus falling into someone else's attempt to, bring you into the trap of.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Fully. 100%. 100%. Thank you so much for pulling through with that definition and the history really of the word, because like that doesn't need to apply to us. We literally don't need to compare our accomplishments or whatever our emotions to what a white man was doing in the 70s that made someone else feel inferior. Like
Mhm.
it's yeah. I feel too. I want to go back to what you were saying about our intuition,
Mhm.
and one of the things that I initially thought about whenever we were talking, because we were talking a little bit about how whenever you're working on something, it can be a little bit isolating, but how working alone helps us to hone our intuition.
Mm.
And I would say not only does working alone, I think, hone our intuition, but being alone with ourselves in a listening capacity, like that helps us to hone our intuition, which is, and I will argue, one of our strongest tools, one of our strongest companions is our intuition through anything in life. Through any and every stage in our life is knowing our own voice and being able to trust that. I'm curious for you, like, how does that show up in your creativity and in the work that you do?
That's such a beautiful question. I always say that solitude is so powerful, and solitude and intuition is something that I have found and discovered on deeper levels at different stages in my life. I was an only child growing up, and my mother worked, you know, very long hours, and I grew up spending a lot of time by myself. And as a child, I was very much so creative and drew all the time and would love to um, just like watch a lot of old movies. And
Love that.
yeah. And so I would say that I have always, even to this day, even partnered, I need and value alone time and solitude. And um, I think for me, intuition shows up in my work more so as a gut feeling. And um, I look at it as, for me, it's ancestral. And I think everyone has their own personal relationship with intuition. And part of it is developing an understanding of who you are and how your body and your soul signal to you those affirmations over time, and trusting yourself. There have been times in my life where life has just ran me dry, and signals have come to me, and whether that's synchronicities in the universe coming to me, or like feelings in my body that have been like, girl, just do this. And I have just walked a path, and it has just been about putting one foot after the other when everything else was falling apart. And following that has gotten me through some of the darkest days. And I will say, especially in the work I'm doing now, intuition is really just about trusting that the work I'm doing is reaching people, and not following any kind of mainstream definitions of what success looks like, or or in terms of like um numbers or engagement or anything like that. I think for me, it's just about building community. Um, and so I really just go with what intuitively what I feel is the best next step in growing We The Diaspora, and in terms of my career in life as well. So it's really just a gut feeling and following what I feel like is a strong yes in my
Yeah.
body.
Absolutely. Like our bodies are very wise and they have a lot. They're constantly obviously sending signals throughout
Hmm.
our entire body about how we're feeling, what we need, water, food, silence, those types of things. And then I think being able to recognize our own voice and our own intuition
Hmm.
and move aside what other people are also trying to maybe put on us sometimes, like whether that is people that might work with, people who like know us but have their own kind of world and voice. Like I think it becomes really important to be able to separate, okay, how do I feel about this versus what feedback am I getting from other people about this?
Hmm.
Not in a way where I'm saying, don't be open to feedback or don't be open to learning, but I think especially when it comes to knowing our voice, like there's nothing more important than being able to separate someone else's voice from your own.
Yeah.
And it's beautiful that you were talking about even partnered, you value your solitude in that way, and I think that can only reinforce your intuition. That's only going to reinforce your intuition. You can show up as a healthy and ready partner when you have those inner, I don't know, paths that you walk with yourself. You know what you're thinking, you know how you're feeling, you can show up as yourself, and I think that that's really beautiful. um, and it can help us even to take risks creatively. It can build our creative confidence. It can build our um, sense of like, okay, cool. Like I know who I am. I know what I love, and I want to experiment with this thing. I want to try this new idea, and it helps you to not be shaken. Like all of my identity is resting on this one, maybe creative decision or something that I'm going to make, because you're settled in who you are, and you know your own voice, and that can lift a burden, and then you can be free to experiment and free to create. And um, yeah, knowing and trusting your own inner voice and intuition only builds your inner strength,
Yeah,
really.
for sure. You build that like stack of receipts, you know what I mean? And trust
Yes.
those small wins, those small
Mm-hmm.
wins and finish, even I say finish projects, but finish like internal projects, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Keeping promises to yourself and making choices that feel right for yourself. And I feel like those are the things that grow your confidence. Um, Even like small things like, hey, I'm gonna go to the gym twice a month or twice a week. Those are promises you keep to yourself and you keep on doing them.
Mm-hmm.
Like those are the things that help me creatively. You know what I mean? The things
Mm.
the small things that I keep um, to Jaya. I'm like, Jaya, we're gonna do this,
Mm.
girl. You know what I mean? Because trust is such a loop, and the more that you honor
Mm-hmm.
your instincts, and I feel like the louder and clearer they get, and the easier it is to stand firm in like your creative voice, and not even just your creative voice, but just your voice in general.
Mm-hmm. That reminds me of something I've read a really, really, really long time ago that was talking about, and you just hit on it, but like the building the trust within ourselves and kind of that keeping promises to ourselves, because we feel that and we hear that, and the more often that we say, oh, I'm going to do that thing, and then we do it, we are building that trust within ourselves. We're making those deposits, and then whenever we're ready to take out from there, we have the confidence, even subconsciously, of, oh yeah, well I keep promises to myself, or I say I'm going to do this thing and I do it, and that continues, yeah, to build that inner confidence. I can trust myself, or yeah, I believe in myself, and I think that that's something that we also need. That needs to be a practice. You were talking about feeling a yes in your body, and that full body yes is just something that if we ignore, like just like anything, and you ignore your check engine light in your car, or you ignore the sound of the batteries being out on your smoke detector, you eventually stop hearing it, or you eventually kind of stop seeing those things. And it's the exact same with that inner voice, or our intuition. Like, if we're always doubting it or judging it or shutting it down, it becomes so much harder to hear it, and so much harder to trust or rely on ourselves when it's like, I'm continuously doubting myself, or I'm continuously questioning myself. And our cells, our mind, all of that hears that and feels that. So yeah, and it can be hard sometimes to find and feel that full body yes when you're not used to supporting yourself internally in that way. Even it's just a mess of confusing signals.
Yeah, and I think what ends up happening is people want to get to the final destination versus just taking the step that's right in front of them. So sometimes it's just about telling yourself the full body yes is about taking the next step that's
Ooh.
yours to take, right, that right there, versus
Uh-huh.
getting you a mile away. Because I think in today's culture, we're all about, I want my life to be there right now, today, this second.
Yeah.
And someone said to me the other day, like, trust in the journey and enjoy the journey to the destination. And I think part of the full body yes is also acknowledging that the yes is in the small things and in the small moments that take you to the big moments of life and where you want to get to. And part of it is reflecting on the life that you live now may be a version of where you wanted to be 5 years ago or where you wanted to be 2 years ago. And acknowledging that growth and being grateful for the small yeses that took you to this place. And you know what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah.
100%. I absolutely feel that. And it is. And the only way we get there is through building it. My inner voice was a mess for many years, for so many years. Like, what's this person going to think if I make this decision? What does this person think about me? Is this going to look like I don't know what I'm talking about? Like, just all of these little things. And I'm the only reason I can talk about intuition is because I had to build it, but it took a while because I knew there were even choices that I needed to make in my personal life, and like ignoring myself over and over, or being afraid, or these things. And then there came a place when I was like, I literally have to start listening to myself and acting on this. Yeah, and even in the small ways. But yeah.
Yeah. It's about that courageous, like, first step that just opens up the door and be like, oh yeah, I could do this.
Exactly right.
Yeah, that's really dope.
Okay, tell me, what is next for you? What's up next for you with We The Diaspora? Or
Um,
personally, or whatever.
well, with We The Diaspora, we are continuing to expand our archive. We are about to launch a storytelling platform where people can share more memories and stories, share like their migration stories. And so we're excited about that. It'll be launching this month. So stay tuned for more information on that. We have more collabs coming up with storytelling campaigns. I'm excited about those, and we're going to start doing more events in the real world. So
I love that.
we have some storytelling events coming to a city near you soon. I'll definitely have more information on that in the next few months, but we are cooking with some good stuff. I'm excited to be bringing We The Diaspora to the world in real life so we can have more third spaces and,
Yes.
do some more stuff and build community throughout the world. So I'm excited about it.
I love it. I love it. And again, it was a pleasure collaborating with you guys for the Creative Legacy Project. Wow. The responses from people wanting to share their creative legacy was overwhelmingly beautiful. I was so surprised, even just whenever we made our initial, request for submissions on Instagram, and just like the thousands of people viewing that and replying and sharing it and saying like, this is a beautiful project, thanks for doing this, or I've got a story I want to share. That was really incredible.
It was. And what I loved is we got submissions from all across the diaspora, from like London to Canada to Guadeloupe to Morocco to Grenada to Zimbabwe. I thought that was just like so lovely, and like a confirmation of just how just far-reaching the community is. And so I really loved it, and I think the stories were just so beautiful. Yeah. So if you get a chance, please go and check it out, y'all. On either of our websites,
Yes.
.org. That's all.
Yeah, or All Black Creatives. Yeah, absolutely. We've got to collaborate on some in real life things soon. Absolutely. That's going to be really fun. I can see some things happening maybe in the next year, and just continuing with the storytelling, and really supporting each other and supporting community.
I love that.
Well, thank you so much for taking time to be on my podcast today. This was really fun.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I am just grateful for the space to talk about this.
Oh, yeah, anytime. And we will stay in touch. You guys, please follow. I think your handle for Instagram is We The Diaspora, right?
Yes.
Okay. Perfect. So please follow Jiya's work at We The Diaspora on Instagram, and submit and share your story as well. One of my passions in life is storytelling and hearing people share their stories. So I love being able to support other people who are absolutely doing the same thing. Thank you all so much for joining us today for this episode of the ABC Studios podcast, and we will be back next month. I'll be back with another amazing creative, and in the meantime, please continue to support our community. Follow Jiya, and I will see you guys next time.